In conversation with M.L. Wissing, Mitchell L. Wissing, a distinguished American writer, not only boasts notable literary talent but also holds the esteemed title of a combat veteran of the United States Army. From the earliest stages of her life, she has wielded the power of words, channeling her experiences into every piece she creates. A profound debut publication, Fragment, stand as a testament of her ability to infuse her writing with a deeply personal and authentic touch, resonating with readers on an emotional level. Its impact extends beyond mere readership. It has become a beacon of hope and healing, integrated into programs and educational curricula to illuminate the transformative potential of writing, particularly for soldiers and students alike. Fueled by a passion for our craft and fortified by the unwavering support of our cherished ones, Wilson is resolute in her ambition to elevate writing from a cherished pursuit to fulfilling and thriving vocation. A dedication to not only embodies a personal journey, but also serve as an inspiration for aspiring writers and veterans, illustrating the profound impact of storytelling as a means of catharsis and connection. With each stroke of her pen, she not only crafts narrative, but also shapes the contours of possibility, poised to carve a remarkable legacy in the realm of literature. And on today's episode of Author Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today M.L. Wilson. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very lovely. It's quite lovely actually to have you on the show today. Quite exciting. We're going to be having a conversation around your beautiful titles.
Thank you. It's an honor to be
Yeah,
here.
absolutely, absolutely. So, Michelle, I want to ask you about your action and adventure fantasy novel and the name of Lost in Shadow, which it's displayed in your background over there, which is the first book actually in the Reign of Shadow, the World of Hestra book series. I'd love to ask you, how does this book come about? What inspired you to write Lost in Shadow? And how do you even come up with that name title for a book? Yeah.
I was inspired to create the World of Hestra while game mastering as a Dungeons and Dragon game, and
Oh,
I've ran four different games of it since then. Many characters are based on my players' characters, and one of my players, who's now my husband, aids me in staying true to their portrayals. And I just absolutely loved it. I'd love for one day there to be a role playing game based off of it.
well,
Uh, the world of Hinestra will be a saga divided into three eras, and each era will have 2 to 4 books, which is what the Reign of Shadow is one of the eras.
mm,
Each era will have their own main storylines and main characters. The long-lived characters like elves could appear in multiple eras. And additionally, there's going to be a couple novellas to fill in literary gaps. The first book, Lost in Shadow, is set in the Reign of Shadow era. It begins 140 years after the royal family's death, with the Colatorics, the leader of the Shadon, who are shadow-wielding magic users, take over the country of Meridia, where elves have either died or gone into hiding and have left the human population to the shadows.
well,
It features 4 protagonists: Apollo, a human farm boy seeking revenge; Spain, a drunkard with memory loss, horrific nightmares, and a mysterious voice in his head. Michael is a Shadon lord's son who is trying to correct his predecessor's errors by becoming a commander
mm,
in a garrison under his first command. And Blagden, his father, who is the first leader of the Shadon house, called Han Hastakonix. And he struggles to
well,
maintain his family status after a conflict between Apollo and Michael threatens his life's work and alters the future of Sheba and Shadon relations.
mm,
The book also has a language glossary and world information in the beginning, and these resources are also available on my website for those who are reading on Kindle and just don't want to go back and forth.
mm. Wow, that's actually amazing, really. I love your description of this. I love your description of
Thank
it.
you.
And, your answer to that want to make me to go into my next question. For readers who haven't read Lost in Shadow yet, and without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect in terms of themes picking up the book?
The theme explores really serious, or the book explores serious themes, adding realism that some readers have already expressed in appreciation for the reviews.
Mm,
Unlike books where characters quickly recover from trauma, say like torture, and in the chapter, the rest of the book, they're fine.
mm,
I always had a problem with that. So my story actually reflects the enduring impact of trauma. As a veteran, I draw from my own personal experience on how to shape or how these experiences shape individuals. So, for example, Ratsbane deals with alcoholism, confusing memories, a mysterious voice, and paranoia about a squirrel.
mm.
Apollo faces anger, guilt, PTSD, the challenge of navigating a society he believes is evil. Michael struggled under the weight of family and societal expectations, with every action reflecting on his father and their house. He
Wow.
contends with correcting the previous commander's mistakes in a region that's hostile to his race. And
Mm,
Blagden faces, juggling between being a father and a leader. Michael's conflict with Apollo puts everything he's accomplished at risk, and he must navigate it carefully, guiding
yeah.
his son and striking a balance between firmness and fairness while being mindful that everybody is watching.
Mm. Wow. Wow. This actually sounds quite amazing, really. I know you have copy in the background there, very beautiful. I don't know if you have physical copy with you too. Not
I
quite
do.
sure.
I have a physical copy.
Yeah, good. Now, you also have a realistic fantasy novel, The Name of the Game. I'm not sure if you have a copy there with you actually of that. To show it to
So
the camera. Good, you see? Yeah,
there we
that's a
go.
section. Beautiful. That's out really. And I'd like you to
Thank
tell
you.
us a bit about the making of it, if that would be fine with you, the game.
Sure. The game is a short story I wrote while I was in Iraq. I plan to
Oh.
republish it in a year or so. It centers on a businessman who finds a chess piece on his desk and discards it. Later, a mysterious man challenges him to a chess game, revealing that the missing piece has magically reappeared inside the businessman's pocket. The man explains that winning pieces will bring rewards and losing pieces will result in insignificant losses, so small they might go unnoticed. As the game progresses, the businessman enjoys success, promotion, and bonuses. However, he overlooks subtle losses while losing a few pieces.
Mm.
Eventually, he realizes what might be slipping away, and he starts wondering if it's too late to alter the income.
Oh, wow. That sounds great, actually.
Thank you.
I love the themes you explore in your book, and I love the genres you seek to fall into. And again, this is one of the things that actually impresses me the most about you being an author, is the fact that you also have a poetry collection in the name of Fragment, which happens to be a military poetry. I would like you to tell us a bit about that collection particularly.
Fragments was my first book I published. It started as a college project. We had to just put a collection of poetry together for a grade. I was at a poetry reading with the guest poets on campus, and my brain wanted to start writing. So I
Wow.
just took down a pen. I started writing, didn't look at it for a few weeks. And then I discovered they're all about Iraq and my time in the military. It was my PTSD coming out. And
Mm.
so I turned it in for college, but I let some fellow soldiers read it. And I was like, hey, should I really publish this? And one told me I didn't know that anybody else felt this way. Is this PTSD? And I explained to him it was for me. PTSD comes out in many different ways. He
Okay.
says I might have PTSD. And so we got him help.
Wow.
And so because of that, I published it. And so next year, um, I will be republishing it, probably with a new cover.
Wow. Beautiful cover.
Thank you.
I love the
And
simplicity of it, the look of the sky, very lovely. Fragment even. You have a text for your titles. They're quite beautiful.
the fun thing with Rain and Shadow is the next book is going to be something, like Shadow will be in the name of those books. So that way it's
Mm.
easier to find as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And Michelle, I've always been fascinated about how authors, especially novelists like yourself, craft long sentences and bring words together in a way that paragraphs makes pages, in a way that sentences makes paragraph, and paragraph makes pages, and pages make chapters, and over and over again, keep compiling over and over again to an eventual great novel in sample of even Lost in Shadow. Yeah, and this always leave me thinking about How exactly did they got the idea, the inspiration to craft these long sentences and bring these words together in a way that an eventually beautiful book is being made? Now, as far as writing is concerned, I'd love to ask you, how do you get the inspirations and ideas for your work? Where did they come from?
I love stories, and for me, world building started really early. I wrote poetry in fourth grade. I
Hmm.
created my first book manuscript, or at least the layout of it at 11, as about being a military child. In
Yeah.
seventh grade, my mom threw out my first manuscript about a college because there was murders going on. But I was influenced by Fear Street by R.L. Stine. At 16, I wrote two books in the series, and they both were lost on a computer. But my favorite scene I had printed out, luckily, and it's included in Fragments as separators for the poems. And then
Hmm.
playing D&D has greatly inspired me, leading me to lots of stories and half-written manuscripts that I hope to sit down and complete one day.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. That's quite beautiful to know, really. Thanks for sharing. Because, I've got so many people say, yeah, I got my inspiration from life experiences. I got my ideas from things I've seen around me. I got my inspiration from, real life stories of friends, or what I overheard someone saying, or a gossip I heard, so many amazing where authors get inspirations and ideas from. So thank you for sharing. It's quite lovely to know how yours come to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on? Also, what are your future plans for your books?
Well, another book that I had written
Oh
um,
goodness.
was To
Wow.
Hell and Back. It's a supernatural trilogy we had started with another author, and just due to life changes, we never completed it. I'm planning on eventually going back and finishing the other two books. I've also participated in a writing group, um, focusing on healing, called Healing Words, which I do not have on me. I forgot to grab it out of the library. But that one was written with the guidance of author Silouan Grain. I'm really passionate about the world of Hestra, and I really hope it exceeds. Writing it has been therapeutic for me, and I envision it to be a role playing game one day, which is one of my ultimate goals. I've had a couple people ask if it's going to be a couple reviews, wanting it to be a series or a movie. And while it is a possibility, I prefer I wait on it until the entire era is written. And that way, I've, that way it's written, it's published, and that way I just prevent people from creating their own endings due to lack of materials. I'd also want to be directly involved to ensure the pronunciation of names and the words in my languages, and prevent changes that alter the character's essence. I've carefully crafted my world, my characters, and it frustrates me when adaptations make significant alteration.
Wow. It's actually great, really. I love your take on that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and
Thank
you've
you.
got so many things ongoing, and I hope you find some times to sleep.
Actually, because I am a disabled veteran, I no longer have to
Oh,
work. And so I stay at home and I write. And so every time I write, you can go on my website and you can actually see my word counts go up or down, depending
interesting.
if I'm taking things out or putting things in.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That's quite great. Thank you for sharing. Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing your book and also ever since it got published? Also, another one, how do you handle criticism as a writer?
Oh boy. In college, I worked as the head of artistic design for my friend's publishing company. And
Oh,
so we aim to publish our, stories affordably, um, only for 100 something dollars, and people could pay for editing if they wanted it, and book covers if they wanted it. We tried looking for the people who normally couldn't spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but have, people thought we were scamming, and so they didn't want us to do anything. And so we ended up going under due to interest. And but it did lead to my first three books being published. 8 years after that, I just didn't publish anything. Uh,
Wow.
Never finished any manuscripts. I
Wow.
was so disheartened by writing, was just discouraged because with my publishing company down, there was no royalties and there was no reviews. And so I
Wow.
stopped telling people about my books. A publisher contacted me through Facebook about the World of Hestra, and I took a chance.
Mm.
I've been absolutely fortunate to receive support. My books have been featured in Barnes and Noble signings. Efforts are
Oh.
underway to get them into the physical stores like Walmart, Target, and Books a Million. They've sent copies to high schools. And so I'm hoping that with book 2 and 3, it'll start really picking up because a lot of people won't pick up a book that's a book one in a series until there's 2 or 3 out.
Mm.
Criticism is rough. There is a when there is criticism, I take it hard. My husband is there to help support me. He and my
Wow.
mother-in-law are my number one fans. Every time a book is published, he sits down and we read it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's quite great, really. That's quite amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. It's lovely to know about all of these things. And again, how do you handle criticism as a writer? I'm not quite sure if you added that to your answer.
How do I handle it? I go to my husband because I take it hard. I take criticism very hard.
Mm.
And so he normally has to talk me out of it. And I get upset and don't write for a few days. And I debate on should I change this or should I change that? And he tells me, no, just stay true to the book, stay true to who your characters are.
Wow. That's actually amazing. Sounds like you've got an amazing partner to walk you through this authorship journey together.
He's my best friend.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That got me remembering a song now coming to my head. You're my best friend.
We met in 2006 playing a role-playing game
Oh,
online, and we had just had our first anniversary.
oh, wow. Wow, that's a great congratulations for you, really.
Thank you.
Well done, yeah. Now, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know?
Well, like I said, you can track my progress on my website. If you go to it, just go on the WIP tab. I update the word count occasionally while I'm working. The website's on one monitor, the manuscript is on the other, just so I could keep myself accountable to my readers and myself. Book 2 and a novella are currently in the works for the World of Hestra, and they're almost getting ready for editing as soon as I finish up these last scenes
Wow.
or last chapters. And so my goal is to release book 2 between before the end of the year.
Mm.
And then while I'm in the middle of working on book 3, I want to release the novella later next year. And then I would love to re-release Fragments next year as well for its 10th anniversary.
Wow, that's actually great, really. That's a good one. Congratulations again. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I mean, it's a trunk load you're doing. You're doing a lot of work, a lot of books ongoing, a lot of research, a
It's
lot
a
of
lot.
writing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot. And
I sometimes wonder if I've bitten off more than I could chew.
And this is actually one of the reasons why I feel like writers need to be praised more for their words, because the process of writing takes a lot of work involved. There's a lot of writing, a lot of you need a quiet space, you need all of the imagination coming to you, you need 100% creativity, you need the time, even
Mhm.
to find the time sometimes to write. It can be, as a mother or if you're working, it's a lot really. I feel
Oh,
writers need to be praised more for their works. Yeah.
I'm always astonished when I hear, writers that have, like my husband's children are 20, and so we don't have to worry about them. I just have dogs. And
Mm.
so, whenever I, see other authors who have jobs and they have families and on top of writing and I'm and it's
Mm.
soccer games and everything, I'm so impressed by them.
Mm. It's a lot, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Now, as a published author, what sort of advice do you offer other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book in your particular genre? What would you advise people in this category?
Well, I probably have two pieces of advice, one for writing and one for publishing. The first one is if you're stuck, take a notebook and a pen, write down a list of scenes that you need to work on, and go somewhere else. I go to a coffee shop, I'll go to McDonald's, I've even sat in Kia while they were working on my car and I just wrote a scene and cross it off my list, write a scene, cross it off my list. And I ended up, instead of writing scenes, I ended up writing an entire outline for book 3 in 4 hours.
Wow.
The other piece of advice is stick for what's right for your book. I've had 2 film companies pressure me into adapting it to a movie. One offering to create plot if needed. I turned them down. I told them I'm not talking to anybody until the era is complete, even if it takes 3 or 4 books. I don't want to be like Game of Thrones. I hold myself to that. I also hold, not only that, but because people are waiting for the next book to come out. And so I hold myself to that. And I think of that every time I write and update my site. I write and update my site. And so I
Absolutely.
can't go a week without writing now because people will look at my site and go, why isn't she writing? And so
Mm,
because of that, I have to keep on myself to write because I do not want to disappoint my fans.
wow. Wow, that's actually amazing, really. I love your answer to that. And thank you so much for your lovely advice. And I'm hoping that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. Before we wrap it up today, I'd love to know your opinion about this. Of your books so far, of the books you've written so far, which one was the most fun one to you to write? Or would I say, which one is your favorite so far of all your published works?
My favorite because of the impact that it's caused
Wow.
and knowing that it helped save a couple soldiers who didn't realize they had PTSD. And it helped save me, it helped me get over, and sit down and look at my stuff and look to
Mm,
see what was going on mentally with me.
mm.
My favorite so far has got to be my World of Hestra. I am having so
Oh.
much fun with it. I've been working on this world for 8 years. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to it, which is why there's no map in the world yet. Because every time I create a map, I end up redoing it. So I have so many maps that are not right, even though they're all pretty much the same looking. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to it, but I love it and I can't wait to
Mm.
see everybody else, get introduced into the world. And I've had a couple people who will call me, a couple of readers, and they'll actually um, speak to me in Shades. They'll at least say hello or good morning to me in Shades, which is kind of cool.
Wow. Wow, that's quite amazing, really. That's quite lovely. And I was about to even add that which one resonates with you the most, but I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if that would be a bit.
It's intimidating sometimes, because you're sitting there and somebody's talking to you, and I've had somebody run up to me. He left. He bought a book and left. About
Mm,
30 minutes later, he comes running back. How do you pronounce this word?
imagine.
He goes, and so I'd have to sit there and I'm pronouncing it with him, and it's showing how people are really excited about the book. I've had readers come up to
Absolutely.
me and have full conversations about their favorite things,
Interesting.
what they like, what they don't like. It's a lot of
Mm.
fun.
Yeah, that's quite great. Thank you. That's quite sound very great to me, really. Thank you. Now, in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview and would love to get a copy of any of your books, on what platform are they available on for purchase?
The book is online at over 42 stores. So if you go pretty much anywhere, just type in Lost in Shadow, the Reign of Henestra, or the Reign of Shadow, or the World of Henestra, or even just Lost in Shadow ML Wissing, it'll pop up. On my website, if you go to the books, you'll see an Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Goodreads, and you just click on those and you can go purchase there as well. It takes you straight to the page.
That's great. That's amazing. That's very great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of ML Wissing's books directly on Amazon, on our website, and also another platform. I also left a link to our social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Michelle, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome. And I must say that it is even more than wholesome and exciting to have this conversation with you. Thanks for
For inviting me. This has been an extreme honor for me. I was so excited. I ran around my house. I'm so
coming.
excited.
Thank you so much. Yeah.